Hey everybody, sorry I cannot be live. There is some restrictions and limitations, as well as you need 1,000 subscribers to get on YouTube. So my first video will not be a live stream. It'll be pre-recorded. And in today's segment, we are going to make a chocolate strawberry cupcakes. And the first step you need to do is dry ingredients. And you need about 1.5 cups of flour. So you do need to measure this out and do not substitute or try to just do half a measurement. As in baking, you cannot substitute or do a fraction of what you're supposed to do. And once you have your 1.5 cups of flour, you will need after that to get your baking powder or baking soda. This is the next thing you'll need is baking powder or baking soda. And you will need 1/2 teaspoon And I do also like to clean up along the way, so I don't have as much to clean when I am done prepping everything. And you can feel free to choose to or not, but I sometimes add sugar to the dry ingredients. But you can also add it to the wet ingredients. Either way, it'll still be put into the recipe. So the next step that I am going to do is incorporate 1 cup of sugar. But it depends on what you like. If you don't like it to be as sweet, you can use less than 1 cup of sugar. It's depending on your taste and how sweet you like your cupcakes. Next thing we're gonna do is 1/2 cup of cocoa mix. Whatever cocoa mix you like to use. Some are more sweet than others, so you might want to make sure to read the label. And if it's too sweet, find something that's not as sweet, because you're already gonna be putting 1 cup of sugar in there. Or you can use less sugar and more of the cocoa mix. And the next thing now I'm gonna do is start incorporating the ingredients together so that they combine together. You don't want to stir it too much, just enough to incorporate the ingredients. The next thing I'm going to use, and the reason I'm using this oil is because it also adds moisture. It doesn't add much flavor, just some moisture. Besides, the butter will add moisture too, but we don't want the cupcakes to dry out when they're cooking. And the other thing I will suggest when you do start baking, don't cook it exactly to the time that whatever your recipe is. Undercook it a little, because once you bring it out of the oven, it still will cook a little bit while it's in the baking pan. We're going to do 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. Now that we have all the dry ingredients incorporated here, we're going to go over to the next bowl, which is going to have the wet ingredients, which will consist of eggs, and everything of the dry ingredients is going to go in this bowl. So it's going to consist of eggs, heavy cream. You could also use milk if you prefer, or if you don't want all the fat, you could substitute that for skim milk or a non-dairy product for those who are vegan. Where's my heavy cream that I had? Fudge. I know I had it, so where the hell is it? Oh my god. Hello? Somebody tell me I don't have it. I'm gonna scream. About opening this thing, and I know there's something else I need, but I'm not worried about that as much as I'm worried about where the hell is my heavy cream that I had. Okay, there's the butter. I left the heavy cream at my mom's house. Did I? Which I don't think I did. No. this is going bad, so I do not want to attempt that. Fudge, I need that heavy cream. I thought I had it. Urgh! Damn it. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to make substitution because I don't have one of the ingredients I need. So, we're not gonna be putting heavy cream into this. So, we're gonna use a little bit more butter to help make it more moist. So we're gonna use 1.5 sticks of butter. Usually I would say if you have heavy cream, you just wanna use 1 stick. And if you don't, the substitution is gonna be 1.5 sticks of butter. And I would suggest doing this instead of what I'm about to do is leave the butter out at room temperature for like 5 hours or so, because you want it to be kind of soft so that it won't be so hard when it starts to bake. And it'll be easier to combine into the rest of the wet ingredients if it's at room temperature. So here we go with the stick of butter. Put in this bowl. As we're gonna put it in a microwavable bowl. Now, we're gonna put this in the microwave for like 54 seconds. We just need to get the butter soft. Sorry, I'm moving around everywhere. I just want to get the best angle possible so I can show a little bit more about what I'm doing here. Okay, the next ingredient we're adding is the melted butter. We're adding the melted butter here in this bowl. In this bowl right here. The next thing I'm gonna have to do now is we're gonna now melt down the chocolate with some of the butter, which will be the other half of the stick of butter that I already melted down. The one that has not been melted down is the one that's going to be used with melting some chocolate down. You'll need a little bit more than half a cup of chocolate chips melted down. And the other thing is you do not want the heat up too high with this because you do not want to burn the chocolate. All you do is want to melt it. So I would say you want the temperature for your stove is at a medium heat. So you don't want it higher than that because you will burn the chocolate and the butter. So you want to measure out first like a half a cup of chocolate chips. It doesn't matter what brand, as long as it's a brand that you like that you would use in baking. Whatever cooking you do, it doesn't matter. The brand I use is a store brand, and it tastes just as good as any factory or any name brand. And if you don't want to use butter when you're melting down the chocolate, you could use whatever oil you cook with. You'll just want to measure that out to about half a cup or a little bit or close to that. And just wait till it gets heated up, and then you add the chocolate and the sugar. I would say you want about a half a cup of sugar as well, because you've already added a cup of sugar into the dry ingredients. And after you get everything incorporated, I like to add the vanilla flavor or vanilla extract into the chocolate. Some people put it into the dry ingredients. Whichever works for you, as long as you get the vanilla or vanilla extract into your dish. And I only use about half a cap full, because this stuff is very strong. And it does help to wake up the flavor in your dishes. So it kind of enhances your dish. And the other tip I will tell you is you do not want to walk away from your stove top when the thing starts to cook. The minute you do that, you're going to wind up burning your chocolate. And once it starts to boil a little bit, when the butter starts getting really warm, you're going to want to turn the temperature down on your stove top and just keep stirring till the chocolate smooths out. And also till the sugar dissolves. Now that everything is combined and the chocolate is now smooth and the sugar is dissolved, I will now pour in the vanilla. And you want to make sure that your chocolate looks like this. Now I'm going to come over here . And now we have our dry ingredients and the butter. So we're going to incorporate the butter and chocolate together. Where's the spatula I had? There it is. We want to get out as much as we can the chocolate, because we do want these cupcakes to be kind of as much chocolate flavor as possible. As I was using a wooden spoon, so it wasn't really helping it get all the chocolate out. So now I'm using a spatula, which does get more out of the pot than a wooden spoon would. Wooden spoons are great for stirring. They're not great for everything, though. And I'm sorry for the rambling. I'm a little bit nervous, but promise you, this recipe is going to turn out great, and I hope you guys will be interested. And I hope you guys will be interested to want to try this recipe for yourself. And next we will be adding eggs into the dry ingredients. And then we're going to slowly stir in the wet into the dry. What I normally like to do is put my eggs into a separate bowl, because when you do crack the eggshell, you never know if you're going to get a loose eggshell in there. And it's easier to fish a loose eggshell out of a separate bowl than it is into the bowl that already has other ingredients into it. Now we're putting the eggs into the dry ingredients. Now we're going to stir these ingredients up. And then we're going to incorporate the wet ingredients into the dry next. But the other step you want to do before you incorporate your wet into the dry is you want to make sure that you also combine those two ingredients together. While I'm doing this, I just want to get everyone else's feedback on how their day is and what have they been up to and what is their favorite thing to bake or cook. I would love to hear feedback, so if you would be willing to share, please comment below and let me know. And we're just about done here, so we will now be getting on to the next step here of getting some strawberries into this. This is what you want it to look like. You want it to be a batter consistency. Now we want to chop up about, I'd say about 10 strawberries. But we also need to clean them first because you don't ever want to put your fruit into any recipe unless it's clean. I don't have a strainer, so what I'm using right now is a pot that has a lid that has holes in it, which helps strain things out. So that is what I'm gonna use right now. It's one of my only pots I have. I don't have a strainer. Eventually I'll get a strainer, so it'll make it a little easier for me. So we're gonna get out about 10 strawberries. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I'll make it 8. That'll be good. We'll do 8, which is close enough for 10. And we wanna rinse these off and then strain it out. Now I need to get them onto a plate because I gotta now prep them to go into the cake batter. So now we are going to, you do not want the green thing because the green top part is not edible. So you want to cut that off of each one of them. I mean, they are pretty looking. They're just not the edible part of the strawberry. Okay. And then we want to cut them up into like 4 pieces for each strawberry. The easiest way to do that is the part that you cut off, you put it flat side down onto your plate, and you cut it in half, and then you cut that part in half. And it makes it so much easier because if you put it like this side down, it's hard to cut it. When it's flat side down, it makes it easier to cut it because the fruit or whatever food you're cooking or prepping, that is, it won't want to move. Sorry for that, I just had to go dump some things in the garbage. Now we will continue, we're just about done here. Now that we have the strawberries cut like that, we will now go back over here to the batter. And now we will incorporate this into the batter. I think we need a little bit more strawberries, so I'll be right back. Whoa. Sorry for all the moving again. And now I figure we need a few more strawberries and then we shall be done. With that part, we can move on to the next stage. Now that we got the strawberries, the last leg of strawberries I need, we can now move on to the next stage. Now that we got everything incorporated here, the next stage will be getting the cake batter, which is going to be incorporated into, going to be poured into cupcake. holders. And these are the cupcake holders I'm going to be using. I got them from Whole Foods. You can get whatever cupcake holders you want, or you could use cupcake pans that are non-stick that you can pour your batter into and have them cook in the oven at 375 degrees for about 36 to 38 minutes. And the reason I'm saying this, because again, I emphasize you do not want to cook it exactly at the time, whatever recipe you have, because remember, again, it's going to cook as well when you get it out of the oven, because the pan that it's in is hot still, so that'll be carryover cooking time is what that is. And now I'm going to prep. Oops, I'm sorry. It looks like there's a last little leg of wet ingredients here. So, sorry for that. But I'm going to now get this last little leg of wet ingredients in there. And now, we are on to the next part of the baking here, which will be getting out these cute little cupcake holders. We need to put one in each part of the baking pan here, cupcake baking pan that is. Okay, sorry for this, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with these. Okay, there we go. We need to put one for each. So however many you feel like you're gonna bake, you might want to prep this before you start anything so you're not having the struggle that I'm having right now. Just to give you a little heads up. But if you like to take your time, then you could do this right now too, while you're in the midst of doing your baking project, however you want to do it. Sorry for that little weird thing I just did there. I just want to make sure I'm not using more than one cupcake holder. I mean, some people might use it because if it's a heavier batter, you don't want the batter going through your cupcake holder. So it depends on what your preference is too, as well. And I'm gonna walk over here. I'm gonna be getting spoons because it's easier than trying to dump the bowl out and seeing if you can measure it that way, because that'll make a mess. I figure about 1 spoon per cupcake holder is enough. It depends what your preference is, how big you want your cupcakes. And I would suggest that you have 2 spoons, because unless you like licking the batter off your fingers, you can do it that way. But if you want to be neat, you can use 2 spoons, 1 to scoop, and 1 to take it off the other spoon to put it into the cupcake holder. You want to make sure when you're putting in the batter into the cupcake holder that it covers the bottom and about halfway up. Unless you like a really big cupcake, as I say again, you can measure it out more than that. I'd also say this is a great recipe if you wanted to make a cake out of it instead of cupcakes, to be a little less time consuming, and you can decorate it differently too if you were to make a cake. I would say whatever frosting you want to use that you think goes good with chocolate or strawberries, by all means, give it a whirl. And the same goes for cupcakes too. If you decide to use this recipe and make cupcakes out of it, as what I'm doing, you don't have to use the exact frosting recipe that I'm about to use. And what I'm doing right now at this moment is checking to make sure that each and every single one of them is about the same size. Which I can be a little bit picky about because I don't always like it when I see one is a little bigger than the other. I don't know if anyone else has that issue like I do, but I sometimes do. So I'm doing this to make sure that each and every single one of them will be about the same size. And now we're just waiting for the oven to start. After that, it's gonna be about 28 minutes or so. And then we'll have cupcakes that we gotta let sit and chill for a little bit before I go on to the next step. So, is there anything going on with everybody's day? I wouldn't mind hearing anything new, and if there's anything interesting. I know that we have still been in a pandemic, so I know everybody's been having struggles. So I wouldn't mind hearing how everybody else might be doing during this pandemic and what challenges they've had and how they've handled them. And am I the only one that might feel like baking helps cope? Or does anyone else have a coping mechanism that helps them when they're having a challenge or a struggle? If so, feel free to leave a comment below this video. And we're still waiting for the oven to preheat here. So, oops. Caught me licking my fingers. The batter is good though, I'll tell you that. And we're still waiting. And I'm sorry for that boring dialogue right here, right now. I kind of made a miscalc, which I should have prepped the oven while I was doing that, so we wouldn't be waiting here longer. And I think I'm gonna put, never mind. We're almost here, so. I think I'm gonna put this video on pause and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back and the oven's preheated. So now we're going to get these cupcakes into the oven. Okay, Google, set timer for 28 minutes.
20 minutes, starting now.
Okay, Google, Set timer for 28 minutes.
28 minutes. And that's starting now.
Sorry, everybody, I'm back. I just had to go set my timer. And we got 28 minutes. Sorry, everybody. I just had to set my timer. So I'm back, and we're still waiting for the cupcakes to cook. So I'm gonna pause here again, and I'll be right back.